Welcome to episode 38 of the Growing Space podcast. It is June. We are nearing the official end of the spring season, which means summer is right around the corner. Many of us have our summer plants already planted. They are thriving. Some of us still need to plant a couple more things for the summer season. So in today's episode, I want to share with you all 3 daily tasks for tending to your summer vegetables. Now, I say 3 tasks and 3 daily tasks to boot. But in doing these daily tasks, first of all, they shouldn't really take you that long to do. I think that you could easily do all 3 of these in under 10 minutes. So these are 3 daily tasks that do not take a lot of time, but are super important for making sure that all of your plants are staying nice and happy and healthy throughout the summer season and help you maximize the production and harvest from your space. So we've got some good ground to cover today as we lead up to the summer season. And let's go ahead and dig in. Get started with today's episode. Welcome to the Growing Space podcast. I'm your host, Farmer Erin, owner of the Patio Farmer, and I believe that no matter what size space you have, you can grow food at home. Tune in every Tuesday as I share my best tips, tricks, and encouragement for tending to homegrown edible plants. I'm here to support your food growing journey. The Growing Space podcast is sponsored by Plant Club by the Patio Farmer. Plant Club by the Patio Farmer is a monthly subscription service I started in 2020. It's a membership-based opportunity to take your growing journey to the next level. With 4 different membership options, you get to decide the amount and kind of support that's right for you. All Plant Club members receive access to my online community through a platform called Circle. Having access to this platform allows members to share pictures, ask questions, celebrate harvest, and get to know each other. All Plant Club members also have access to free seeds each month, along with information on how to plant and tend to their crops, with seeding instructions and downloadable resources from the Patio Farmer's Resource Library. Membership starts at just $14 a month. Join Plant Club today by visiting my website, thepatiofarmer.com/membership. Just to give a little bit more framing and context for today's episode before we jump in. So I mentioned that I'm in the Northern Hemisphere. So if you're brand new to listening to this show, I like to mention in every episode where I am located. So I live and work in Charlotte, North Carolina. Charlotte is situated in the USDA Hardiness Zone 8A, which means we have fairly mild winters and nice, hot, humid summers, which we are already starting to be blessed with a little bit of humidity here in the Charlotte area. It hasn't gotten too terribly scorching hot yet. But yeah, we have hot, humid summers and typically mild winters, which means we have an extended growing season. We're able to grow food pretty much year round. I like to tell a lot of my clients and customers that there's always something that we can be harvesting or planting or tending to in our growing space. And the fact that there's always something that we can be harvesting, planting, tending in our growing space is really exciting because once we have our spaces set up, if we're new to growing food at home, then there's just a constant opportunity to have something growing and producing in our space if we want it to be, right? So it's very exciting, very, very inspiring to be always learning and practicing growing food for ourselves. So in today's episode, these are going to be 3 daily tasks for your growing space. If we work our plants into our daily routine, even if it's just a few moments, that daily ritual, that daily routine can help set us up for success if we are able to just build that in to how we live our lives and where we decide to spend our time. Just wanted to give those few little morsels of framing and reference as we jump in and talk about the 3 daily tasks, specifically for summer, but even taking this beyond the summer season, beyond the heat and warmth and growth and bounty of summer, and into periods of more rest as we move towards the fall, and then, of course, rebirth as we move into the spring. One of my favorite things about growing food is that connection to natural cycles and the natural rhythm of our planet, natural rhythm of life, truly. There's a period of birth and new starts, new beginnings, emergence. There's a period for growth and bounty. Sometimes there's a period of stress, which can sometimes manifest itself in the summertime. And then there's a period of rest and reward and replenishing. It's just a beautiful opportunity to invite that connection and the things that we can learn from our plants about ourselves and how we move throughout the world and throughout life. Taking that quick macro zoom out and now zooming back in and talking about our plants. I am sharing this episode in mid-June. It's the second week, starting the second week of June. My work and my flow with customers and clients is shifting from the spring, which is full, jam-packed of planting sessions, consultations, coming up with plans, getting things in the ground, seeding, lots of things to start, right? To start new plants, new seasons of growth. And as we move through June, through July and August, my work definitely takes more of a turn towards maintenance, right? This is my last week officially of installations. So by the end of this week, all of my clients will have all of their summer veggies and all the things that produce a flower and a fruit from the flower. So tomatoes, cucumbers, squash, zucchini, peppers, eggplant, okra, green beans, basil, all of those things are currently growing and thriving across all of my clients' spaces. Even some like leafy greens and root vegetables that are lingering from spring are still thriving. This is just my hunch that this year is going to be a bit of a buggy year. It always is here in the Charlotte area in the southeastern United States. We are blessed with a diversity of insect species and populations who love our edible plants almost as much as we do. We experienced some fairly mild winters these last 2 years, and my planty intuition is telling me that it's going to be extra stressful year when it comes to bugs. I hope I'm wrong. I really do. I hope we get to the end of August and I am proven wrong with that statement, but that's just a feeling that I have. Yesterday, I was out in my own growing space in the backyard, and I saw my first Japanese beetles of the year. They just make me cringe. They really do. Luckily, I have chickens that thoroughly enjoy a Japanese beetle snack. I've already seen the squash vine borer moth out on some of my clients' spaces. I'm constantly shooing away and having to treat for. The bugs, they're just part of the ecosystem, right? If you missed last week's episode, I did a whole episode on the notorious bugs of summer, and I actually mentioned Japanese beetles and some tips for helping to keep them out of your space, or at least their populations controlled. So if you are particularly interested in bugs, I would recommend going back and listening to last week's episode. That is episode 37. And the title of the episode is The Notorious Bugs of Summer. But last week, after I shared that episode, I went out and had my rounds with my different clients, my different business clients that I work with, my individual clients that I work with on a consistent basis. And I spent most of my time treating for blight. early blight on tomatoes. And, this is something in our region that is just super common and it's to be expected. This is kind of the spiel that I would share with clients is like, this is super common. You can just about guarantee that you'll have early blight on your tomatoes living somewhere that's hot and humid. And so walking them through different care practices, things to do, how blight spreads. It is a fungal disease. So it spreads through contact, it spreads through moisture. So like touching affected leaves and then touching healthier parts of the plant, you're spreading that disease. And here in the Southeast, we usually get fairly frequent afternoon rain showers, which increases the moisture of the soil, and that can lead to fungal diseases too. This is just the time of year when we start to encounter some pest issues, some disease issues. Things are thriving and there's lots of bounty in our growing spaces. I mentioned that I saw the Japanese beetles this weekend, but you know what else I did? I harvested so many berries from my space. I harvested blueberries. I harvested raspberries. I ate my very first blackberry of the season. So there's lots of bounty too that's coming out of our space right now. These daily tasks, I would encourage you to start taking the steps to work this in to your daily practice, your daily routine, your daily ritual. What other things do you do on a daily basis? You brush your teeth on a daily basis. You wash your face. Maybe you go to the gym on a daily basis. Maybe you have some kind of meditative practice that you do. Make this part of that daily routine. Maybe you walk the dogs. So maybe before you go on a walk with the dogs, this is what I do. Before I go on a walk with my dogs in the evening, I check on my plants and I check on my chickens. And that is my routine. That's what I do. So these tasks, they're tasks that you can spend a minute, literally 60 seconds on each one. You could do all three at the same time if you needed to. You could also take an hour on each one, depending on how big your space is, if you wanted to, right? Or sometimes your plants will require you to take a little longer on these tasks, but just getting into the habit, into the ritual of doing these three things on a daily basis will, I think, strengthen your growing practice. Maybe a way of easing into this new routine is taking a month, taking 4 weeks and challenging yourself every day to spend 5 minutes. 5 minutes with your plants to do these three tasks. Maybe you want to start on the summer solstice, which is next Friday, June 21st. It's the official start of summer. It's the longest day of the year. Well, the longest amount of sun exposure of the year. Maybe you want to start then. And from June 21st to July 21st, you are going to challenge yourself to spend at least 5 minutes every day tending to your plants and doing these three tasks. Let's introduce them and I'll explain a little bit more and give some tips and recommendations for you as you start to do these on a daily basis. The first task, and this is perhaps one of the most important things I would encourage you to do on a regular basis, at least daily. If you want to do it more than once a day, you go for it. But this is a super important skill to practice and routine or habit to get into when you are tending your plants. And chances are you're already doing this. So bonus. But the first task to do on a daily basis is simply observe your plants. Just put eyes on them. Okay. If you are able to just look out and stare at your plants, it can be from afar. It can be up close. My preference, or what I would encourage you to do, is to look at them as closely as possible. But the observation, or just the curiosity of seeing what's going on with your plants on a daily basis, it has exponential effects on how your plants will grow, on how you handle these next two tasks that I'm going to share with you. Just observing what is happening with your plants is huge and it's very significant part of maintaining healthy, happy plants throughout the summer. So something that I bring up in a lot of the classes that I teach when I talk about maintenance is as you are spending time with your plants, you want to understand what their normal looks like. You want to get to know your plants. You want to understand what happy, healthy means for them so that when something starts to go wrong or when you start seeing a bug show up on the plants, you're just able to track your progress and maybe be able to diagnose something that wasn't there yesterday or the day before. Getting to know your plants, observing your plants, it's not just from the same perspective every time. So if you can look at your plants from all angles, you can look down at them, you can look through their leaves, you can look underneath their leaves, kind of squat down and check them out, turn your head a couple of different angles and just stare at them from all sides, all perspectives, and just get to know what their normal is so that when something goes wrong, when you see a spot that wasn't there or you see a bug, you're able to treat that swiftly. That's the first task, is simply observation. And like I said, you're probably already observing your plants. You're probably already looking at them, but maybe it's observation with intention or observation with curiosity to understand what all is going on with your plant. The second task is to support your plants. The task of supporting can have multiple subtasks like watering or feeding or treating for a pest or disease or pruning. Maybe it could even be adding a trellis or moving some of your trellising components around so that you're making sure that the plants are fully supported, literally, as best as you can. This can encompass several different things. Mainly on a daily basis, what I am concerned with is soil saturation. So just making sure that the plants are supported with enough moisture in the soil. I have an automatic irrigation system that runs on a daily basis this time of year. So that handles the moisture for me. But when I'm out there observing, I'm making sure that all of the plants are getting hit, by the irrigation. No one's looking a little dry or stressed out. And if they are, then I make modifications. Sometimes, it's the right time to feed my plants. Like over the weekend, I fed my plants with a little plant food, a little homemade compost that I whipped up in my Lomi, which I'll put a link if anyone is interested. I am obsessed with these Lomi composters. They sit on your kitchen counter and they break down your food waste in 16 hours. If not faster. I do 16 hours because it's like the best for your plants, but you can make compost in as little as 4 hours. It is insane and it's so cool. I'm obsessed. It's called Lomi. And again, I'll put a link in the show notes for you. Sometimes it could be feeding your plants. Sometimes it could be pruning or trellising. If you do suspect you might have a pest or a disease, it could be treating for pest or disease. All of these are ways that we support our plants. You're not going to be doing all of these things every day, but chances are there is at least one supportive task that you can spend a minute or two doing every day, whether that's throwing out a few handfuls of plant food, you could be suckering your tomato plants, you could be pulling a few weeds out of your raised bed, maybe you're popping in some seeds for a companion plant to help out and support another plant, maybe you're adjusting your trellising twine for your tomatoes, your cucumbers, or you're adding a trellis. Chances are there is something supportive that you can do for your plants on a daily basis. And maybe it is just watering them. And that is super important to do daily. right now. Observe, support. The third daily task, chances are you're also probably doing this one already too. So good for you. You're a superstar. But the third task is harvesting, keeping up with harvesting in the summer whenever things are ready to be picked, which depending on how many plants you have, you could be harvesting every day. June, July, August, I'm typically harvesting something every day out of my growing space. And if you are not harvesting something out of your space every day, don't feel bad about that. I'm mentioning harvesting as a daily task because it's important that as things are ready, as things are maturing in our growing spaces, that we're staying on top of our harvests. As things are reaching the appropriate size and maturity in our growing space, the more attractive they can be for larger animals like birds or chipmunks, squirrels, deer, to come nibble on and share in our harvesting. So as things are ready in your growing space, be sure you're staying on top of harvesting. Over the weekend, I was harvesting berries just left and right. There are so many berries, and every day I harvest more berries because if I don't, someone else is going to come along and eat them, or I lose out because fruit becomes overripe. So harvesting is a great daily practice. When you're going out to observe your plants and help support your plants, take out a harvest basket and whatever you see that's ready, go ahead and pick it, bring it inside, start enjoying that summer bounty. It may have sounded intimidating at the beginning, like 3 daily tasks for your growing space, observing your plants, seeing how they're doing, supporting your plants, even if it's just a minute of support, and then harvesting while you're out there, taking a little basket, checking out your plants, picking any fruit that's ready, maybe some fresh herbs for dinner. That's it. Just the 3 tasks of observe, support, and harvest. If you're not doing these 3 things already on a daily basis, start out with just a short little challenge for yourself. Maybe it's for a whole month, maybe it's just a week, and you set the time, Maybe it's 5 minutes a day. You're going to go out, you're going to look at your plants, you're going to support them in some way, and you're going to harvest. Take your plants all in. And if you can do those 3 tasks as often as possible throughout the summer, you will have a happy, healthy growing space. I promise. There you go. I have some exciting news, you guys, as we are getting close to the end of the episode. And that is a long anticipated interview is headed your way next week with one of my favorite farmers, someone that I work with super closely, a huge role model for me. I had the privilege of interviewing my friend Mary Roberts from Windcrest Farm earlier this morning, actually. And I'm going to be sharing our conversation with you all next week. Mary is the owner of Windcrest Farm. If you've been following me for some time, you might recognize the name Windcrest Farm or Mary Roberts from me talking about her because I order all of my plants from her. Her farm is certified organic. She has been at this property in Monroe for over 20 years. In the interview that I'm going to share with you next week, we talk all about what it means to be a certified organic farm. We talk about the different things that she has growing on her farm, and we focus on one of her favorite crops and favorite activities to do as a farmer. We're going to learn all about lavender in next week's episode. And Mary is also going to share with us some tips on propagating. If you have listened to this podcast in the past, then you'll know that at the end of every episode, I like to share just a quick little sign-off morsel of information. It could be a story from my own growing space. It could be a fun fact, typically something that's not really related to the content of today's show, but still very much related to growing plants and growing food at home. And today, I just want to share with you guys that my crimson red bee balm is blooming in the front yard. And I look forward to this plant being in bloom all spring. I am obsessed with this plant. So it's like I said, it's a crimson bee balm. I'll put a link in the show notes today to help you visualize what this plant might look like, but it's right in the front of our house. I have it in one of our edible landscaping beds. She has these massive red spiky flowers that sit right on the top of the plant, and the bees and hummingbirds love her. And I am obsessed with hummingbirds. Every year they get so excited and they come and they visit this bee balm. This plant is also right next to our driveway. So sometimes I'll go out in the morning to water my plants and I'll see a beautiful little red-breasted hummingbird feasting on the nectar of my bee balm, and it just makes me smile from ear to ear. I'm so excited. And several other plants that I have around my bee balm. One is my swamp hibiscus, which is just stunning. She usually blooms after the bee balm is done, which is really nice rotation. The hummingbirds also love her. And then I have my milkweed, and I'm just waiting with bated breath. I can't wait to see my little monarch butterflies show up on the milkweed this year. I am so looking forward to that. So anyway, I just wanted to share with you that my crimson bee balm is blooming and she's stunning. That's it. Be sure to check today's show notes for more information. I will have a link to my masterclass, which has even more information for summer supervision and tending to your seasonal plants in one of the modules. Just a reminder, that masterclass is called the 6 S's to Success. And I talk through all the things you need to know about sunlight, space, soil, season, seed, and supervision. There's more tucked in there about how to take care of your plants throughout the year and in the summer. That is available to you wherever you are. You have access to it, and I will put the link in the show notes for that. I will see you back here next week as I share the conversation that I had with Mary Roberts from Windcrest Farm. So excited. All things lavender headed your way next week. And in the meantime, maybe you start embracing 1, 2, or all 3 of these daily tasks for keeping your summer plants happy and healthy and bountiful. Thanks again for tuning into this week's episode of the Growing Space Podcast. I hope that you learned something new and that you were able to take this new information home with you and implement into your growing journey and into your growing space. As always, I am here to support you and your food growing journey. If you'd like to learn more about the different services and resources and membership programs that I run through the Patio Farmer, please check out my website, thepatiofarmer.com. You can also follow me on social media. I am on Facebook, Instagram, and oh my gosh, most recently, TikTok. Wow. I know. Here I am. Patio Farmer is on TikTok. It's very exciting. If you enjoyed today's episode, please give it a like or a rating or a review if you want. Maybe share a little comment about your favorite part of the episode. Share it with a friend. The more interactions I get with my little podcast online, the more I'm able to help people just like you in their food growing journeys. As always, thanks for being here, and I will see you again next week.